Okay, we're live.
Okay, I guess we'll call the meeting to order. Mark Geller, Peg Zugby,
Here.
Roger Marr, Tim Riley. Okay, the first thing, very quickly, we don't necessarily have to go through it, but I let this, Heidi put this on your desk. Heidi compiled this. And it's just good, it's good information. If you ever say, what's the IDA do? You know, what's the results? How much are we spending? How much are the projects out there? How many jobs? All these different things. It's a good summary report of a snapshot. Should anyone ever ask you?
I went to the legislature that time to get appointed, and they didn't tell you, so I was there by myself.
Yeah.
And
They
they
don't
wanted
bother to
me to
share
give
that
a
shit.
full synopsis of what they did in front of the legislature. I was like,
But it's just good,
so this
interesting
would have been
stuff.
good to have.
Like, you know, you see, like, I think it's, and again, I don't want to get waylaid too much. But like, if you go to the last page, this is a telling, see how much we invest in Orangetown versus others.
Wow.
Sadly, I live in Stony Point, and they're not even represented because the number is completely zero there.
Where is?
Stony Point's not even on the chart because they didn't register even a zero.
Maybe we should send a copy to Stony Point.
I should. But I just think it was interesting.
Yes.
Or if you look at, you know, the page before the last page, data centers, how much that makes up.
Yeah.
So, you know, Heidi did this off her own volition, thought it'd be interesting stuff.
It is.
And I thought, I agree. I think it's interesting stuff.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I like spreadsheets and numbers.
Yeah, I think it's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
George, I'll take
If we're ready, we'll go to, I don't want to rush anybody. If you guys are ready, we'll go to the first item. Heidi, do you want to ask Will Sternley to come in?
Hey, folks.
Hey,
Morning.
have a seat. Okay.
How you doing? Sorry. The meeting date screwed up.
Okay, so the first item we talked about is green development, which is a new housing project that's going on up in, or being considered to go in a new city up on North Main Street. You may have ridden up that way, you'll see there's kind of a big hole in the ground, but that's where it sits at this point. Again, consistent with what we're doing as far as housing, I think this is senior housing projected. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I think we all are aware that there was a housing crisis in Rockland, and there was a housing forum recently in county, just underscores what a crisis this is. With that said, this project, they've come to us, they're asking for sales tax, mortgage tax, pilot, pretty much a standard straight lease. And Will, you're here today to talk a little, like we said, just give the board just a 2-minute overview of the project.
Sure. It's a 47 unit project on about 56,000 square feet. It's going to have 31 bedrooms, 16 2 bedrooms. There's going to be 2 buildings, each way in between for parking. The first building is going to be the one that's going to be out on the main street. It's going to be elevated, so there'll be a parking area underneath, and then around the back there'll be parking for the back building. There's also, it's actually a 47 unit that adds up to 46. One of them's going to be for the maintenance worker who will get that apartment to maintain the grounds full time on the apartment. Other than that, all the questions.
And just as a note, I learned of this project, got a call from George Holman, who has been meeting with them and their team, and he wanted them to come over and talk to us. So I know the town, George seems to think this is a needed project for what it's worth, even though I know the town has to take actions. So with that said, I don't know if there's any.
I know you're pinch hitting the majority owner. Who are the senior? Are there any caveats with the senior citizens? Is it going to be Section 8 or anything like that? Do you know?
Well, what the town has done on my previous project is that they make a certain percentage affordable.
Okay.
That's what it comes down to, and there's a whole formula for that.
And
I still haven't figured out yet, but there is a formula for it.
Okay. And from what you understand, that's going to be on this project?
Oh,
also?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
You have all the designs approved and everything from the town?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, there's Were there 2 bedrooms?
There's 16 two-bedrooms, 31
What
bedrooms.
was the address again? Where is it?
135. It's just,
Main Street. Main Street.
it's-
What's?
it's just north of the bowling alley on the west side of the street.
That's what I was wondering, who's going there?
Just
You
very,
know
very,
where-
very short distance from the bowling alley.
You know where
That down further, further north.
you know where the gas station is as you're going up North Main Street? There's a gas station on the right side of it. It's kind of across the street.
Yeah, exactly.
You know that Kirk's was, Main Street.
Not that far. It's before that.
It
It's,
used to be a house, there used to be a regular.
Oh, on the other side of the street. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha. They just took down the house, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
not too long ago.
When do you expect to start construction, or do you, and completion?
That's up in the air. There's like still some things that have to get put in order, but as soon as possible.
Okay.
Sorry.
You got approval, building permit, so to speak?
No, they've got to be submitted.
Okay.
But we've already started the excavation part of it. We've got to go ahead on that.
big rock right in the middle of that.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do
quite
with
a-
that?
We don't know. That's gonna blast it out of there probably.
Maybe another earthquake. Like Indian Rock, everybody just.
Everybody's calling up again.
And there'll be like one, like parking spot per apartment.
I think it's 1.3 it comes out to, so it equates to like a parking spot and a half. I think most of the people have one car.
Some have not.
Yeah, like I have 26 units on my building in Congress and I have 42 spots. So the town is good with this areas, we can make it bigger. We've changed the plans over there twice, but
And
make
some
make it
for
a lot bigger.
visitors too.
Yeah,
Are you limited on who can live here?
limited,
Mhm.
by,
Well, I know it's not a HUD project or things of that nature, but senior citizen moves in, can his children live with, I'm just curious.
well, it's basically 55 and over.
Oh,
Yeah, it's 55 and over is what it is.
okay.
So, and you know, that situation came up, Tim, and it comes down, and I was told, and like I said, my other project, it comes down to code enforcement. You know, if there's an issue with too many people in the apartment, code enforcement comes in and straightens it out.
Right, and in the code, I know.
I mean, there's gonna be issues where our seniors are gonna be in there, and their kids might be up in the south or wherever to stay for a couple of days, that's not going to be an issue. But if it becomes an issue, the code enforcement will more take that
And in the
out.
code, in all the codes, it defines a family.
Yes,
So it
Yes.
tells you who can stay, if you
Yeah.
really get into the weeds,
well,
it tells you who can and who can't.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
No,
It's more defined by the bedrooms.
Okay,
You can't like have 5 people living in a bedroom,
Yeah.
basically is what the codes are at.
okay.
If there's no other questions, I'll ask.
I'll move it, I'll move it.
Okay, so I
I'll
have a
second it.
second. Okay, Mark Geller. Peg Zugby.
Yes.
Raj Mar. Tim Riley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck.
You're induced. What happened? See you. Congratulations.
Next time I'll
So-
dress better, sorry. Mark.
No, you're better. By the way, well, just so you know, when I moved the date from Thursday to this day, my bad, I spaced on Passover, and the other folks obviously aren't available because of that. So, well, thank you for pinching at
As
the
you can
last
tell, I'm
minute.
the working guy. I picked it today, so.
All right.
Folks, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We'll be in touch.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a good week.
Okay. Hotel Nyack, we're going to table Hotel Nyack. They are still going through their seeker process. There's a couple other elements that may have to be tweaked. So there's no urgency. They're still in development process. We'll probably consider that next month with some of the amendments. Is that a good way? to-
Yeah, I spoke with the applicant and their attorney yesterday. They haven't gotten their permits yet. They didn't expect to, but the IDA's done everything obviously induced. You had the public hearing
Yes.
and all that's fine, but under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, this board adopting an authorizing resolution would be considered an action, and you can't have an action before seeker's done. So, and they know that, they were prepared, and they're fine. They're not looking to start the building until the end of the year.
Next item, 1547 Realty. As you may recall, this is a expansion of the existing data center. We had a public hearing literally this morning. Heidi went to that.
Yes,
And there
no public
was
comment?
No comment, not surprising. And so this is simply authorizing, we already induced it last month. This is authorizing based on if there's any public comment, which there was none. So I'll leave it to the board if they have any questions or someone wants to make a motion. Can I have a second? Okay. All right, Mark Geller.
Aye.
Peg Zugby.
Yes.
Raj Amar.
Yes.
Tim Riley. We're considering an amended authorizing resolution. As you can all know, Champlain Hudson Power Express, it's been a long road with them, but we're coming, I think we're actually around the last corner. Look, we can see the goal line.
Can you briefly explain, does everybody here know what that is?
This is the power line that's coming from Canada down the Hudson River, all the way down to New York City. And most of it is in the Hudson River. But in Stony Point, they come up and through Stony Point,
Because of some kind of.
cut it right down 9W and then pop back out and up for 9. But they cross multiple taxing jurisdictions and they want a pilot. And I give them a lot of credit. They've secured pilots and IDA incentives from the Canadian border all the way down to New York. So we're dealing with 3 towns, 3 school districts, and 2 villages, getting them all lined up and all that. So we finally have got everybody on board. Everybody agreed. There's some, the pilot is ready to go out, but there's a couple little, tweaks to this. And Rudy, I'll defer to you if you want to expand on that, but I'll give you the quick version. This is a multi-billion-dollar project, multi-billion-dollar project with a multi-billion-dollar corporation underwriting it. They do anticipate there could come a day where they may want to sell it. And normally, if somebody wants to sell say wants to sell to another buyer that we give incentives to, we require that they come to us and it's subject to the board's approval. Given the scope and size of the project, they're going to have issues of a bank financing this with the issue that, not that I don't want to minimize our role, but little Stony Point could block a multi-billion-dollar merger for whatever reason. So they acknowledge our process. What they've asked us is give them, I'm not going to say pre-approval because that's not really accurate, conditions for approval for a sale that they meet, including providing whoever the buyer is, that there's financials, that they pass all the criteria we would ask before. If they do those things, then it kind of gets automatically approved. Is that a good synopsis, or did I glean over to? The pilot will be transferred to the new owner and with the same obligations. It keeps all of whoever takes over is still obligated with everything that we've required. This is just giving them and the bank the ability that's financing this, knowing that, again, I don't know if this was their main motivation, but I see it as one, that we couldn't block a multi-billion-dollar merger because, whatever.
Have they started construction yet?
They've started elsewhere. They haven't done anything in Rockland because of this. So it's still they've been poised waiting for us to approve the pilot.
That's interesting, because if they've already started construction and they haven't asked for a pilot yet, how is it not for?
Well, and that's exactly, it's, again, it's gotten this, we approved this in 2022,
I don't even remember, I remember it.
Before I came.
But they're paying millions of dollars out to the school districts, they're paying millions of dollars out to the towns.
Yeah, their pilots were soft. They weren't looking for much, if I remember correctly. They were just like, we want to get in, we want to do X, Y, Z. They were looking for sales tax. And they negotiated quickly with most of the municipalities. So it wasn't, they just want to get it in and get it going, so to speak.
Yeah, the pilot is not really an abatement as much as it's because it's kind of unique. It's crossing so many municipalities, so many assessors. It's a negotiated assessed value. And it just puts a schedule to it so that everyone agrees that here's the schedule, here's the payments, because there was no way they couldn't have the pipeline assessed by Town of Clarkstown assessor at one number, Stony Point another, Poughkeepsie at a different, it added predictability. So this is really, we're just like the last piece of the puzzle of all these IDAs up and down the Hudson River. So that's kind of where we're at. Is there any other element to this that?
The only thing I want to clarify is that they have created a certain class of potential assignees or purchasers that would be de facto approved by the board in the future, but that doesn't remove the obligation of whoever they would assign or sell to re-execute our documents and agree to all the same terms and continuing the benefits. So they would still have to treat it like a project and still be subject to recapture if they didn't follow the terms. And if they did have someone who they wanted to assign it to or sell it to that didn't meet the preset qualifications, then they would have to come back to the board for approval to do that.
And one point of clarification, we're not giving them sales tax. The only thing they're getting, they're using us as the vehicle for a pilot.
That's what it was. I knew there was something, they
Right.
weren't when they came, they weren't is.
Right.
Are they domestic or are they?
Yeah.
And I think part of their problem is coming back to me. It wasn't so much the pilot, it was the length of the pilot. They didn't want to put it in the ground, and then all of a sudden Stony Point assesses them for 3 times as much as they thought it was going to be after, it's already in. Now what do we do? So it's one of those things.
It's been, it's funny, we try to anticipate things. This has been so unique, and I don't want to go too much on a tangent. But trying to get all these municipalities all lined up and taxing entities has been quite the task.
That's why it's been a couple of years.
Yeah. And we're right there.
June 28, 2022.
Yeah. So with that said, if there's any questions or.
I'm just gonna recuse myself from it.
Right, you have to
because I know
recuse, okay.
drama.
So what we're doing is we're allowing them to change the name. All of the,
Yeah, I mean, like,
What floors and everything
right,
stays
there's
the same.
a little tweaking elements to it, that's
if they had to. I'll make the motion.
Okay. All right, second?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, Mark Geller, Tim Riley,
Yes.
Roger Moore.
Yes.
Okay, that's passed. Data bank. You want to go get Brian and,
Correcting this project the one here.
Yeah.
I laugh.
It's teasing.
Yeah, I think you got to trim for the meeting. To be honest with you. I'm not kidding. Until about a week ago, yesterday. Who is this guy?
I do have an appointment at 2:00. I'm getting a haircut. In case anybody's wondering, or if anybody cares.
You look way too relaxed, Brian.
Well, you know my plan, Steve. Trying to slow down a little bit. So you're actually up to us at this
Yes.
point?
Yes.
Yes.
Man, you covered a lot. Anyway, this is Dan Yamaguchi, who's general counsel for Data Bank. Office is in Denver, flew in for the meeting here. You may recall that this was an approved project. I think an application was submitted back in 2021. And we got all the municipal approvals. We went through the planning board process, the whole thing, ACABOR, ZBA, everything. And what happened was after we'd gotten municipal approvals, there was a significant delay in getting a building permit while they worked through engineering issues and other things. So it took practically a year after we had gotten the municipal approvals to actually get a building permit. But and if you're familiar with the site, this is at the end of Corporate Drive in Pearl River. There was the Verizon data center there for many years. Actually, it was the Verizon building, which they converted to a data center, and then Verizon pulled out. The building was sold, and Data Bank bought it. But that facility needed to be it was demolished, and so a new facility is being put up now. It's world class. But the original application contemplated about a $250 million cost for construction, and it actually contemplated getting $231 million in bank financing to assist. At that time, it was a little different market, and they decided that they would perhaps try to do this financing on their own. Delays encountered significant increases in cost of construction. I'm sure you've heard this from many other applicants before. plus AI, which Dan can explain to you, kind of became a significant factor so that the things have kind of changed a little bit. So what they are now asking for, we already gave them sales tax and a pilot agreement for the payment of taxes. They have decided to finance this themselves. And they have a lender who's willing to lend them $199 million on this site. Let's just call it $200 million. And so they're now asking for the mortgage tax exemption. Site is under construction right now. It's going very well.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping that you will grant the mortgage tax exemption at this point.
If I guess what I'd want to bring up is, and Brian, I know you're familiar with this, maybe you can speak to one of the caveats is, like we call it the but-for clause. And that, there is assumption as far as when the board considers approval, and it's kind of defined by statute, New York State statute, that the project wouldn't go forward without the incentive. Just like when we did the sales tax pilot, there was the argument to have DataBank come to Rockland and build this facility. The incentives were an integral part of it. The mortgage recording tax at this point, can you speak to that as far as, okay, because it may be, I imagine the board may have a question like, what's the but-for element to this?
Yeah, well, again, it's the significant increase in the costs of the project. And they do have, while they had originally contemplated self-financing, they have a customer now that is interested in taking 80%
Yeah, so
of the capacity over
when it's
there.
completed, they'll take 80%.
And they want to get in there as soon as possible. So this would assist the project, make it more viable, more economically viable, really, to support the project. That and the significant increase and the, necessitated by the delays.
Board has any comments or questions?
I'm not on the board, but could I just raise two questions?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Just in speaking with one of your other counsel, in drafting the resolution, there was some indication that the additional savings that would be realized from, if this is granted, would be put back into the project. And could you go into a little bit of that, just so the board could have some information on that to, I think that goes to the but-for test and also to the community benefit.
Yeah, well, it's a $2 million mortgage tax on a $200 million mortgage. So yes, that will free up some additional monies to put into this project. They also, this would be subject not of today, but they're doing very well. They anticipate putting up a second building there pretty soon. So they'll probably be coming back for sales tax, mortgage tax, and a pilot on that building. But again, it's kind of just, you got a certain inertia. They'd like to complete the project as quickly as possible. And yes, they contemplate that additional money that would normally go to the mortgage tax to go into this project. Yes.
And one other point, just this is a drafting question. I know, Heidi, you had the public hearings today.
Yes.
And we just, and of course, this was drafted before that.
Yes.
Were there any comments at the public hearing?
No
Okay,
public
so
comments,
that-
so we
that-
will change that.
So we don't have to change the one of the recitals, okay.
With the project, and again, I'm trying to anticipate maybe thoughts by the board, they don't necessarily need me to speak for them, but like, they throw the question out, Brian, to you, like, what would happen if the board, what would be the impact on the project if the board didn't extend the mortgage recording tax? Would there be a negative impact? And I know I'm giving you a bit of a leading question to this, but blatantly leading question. What would that impact be?
Well, it's going to slow the construction process down. Data centers are in the business of selling their capacity. There is a demand out there. They would like to take advantage of this customer that wants to take 80% of the capacity. And they want to be able to tell their other customers that, yeah, we'll be ready to go come next, whatever month, completion of construction goes. So yes, they would lose that possibility. Delays can also result in loss of business. So I don't know, with a customer that's interested in 80% of it, could they look elsewhere if there were significant delays that might, result?
I mean, the sooner the better. It's also the other, the part they're not taking to and allows us to put money into that and, hopefully get a customer that would fill the rest of that space, so that would drive the need for the second phase.
Do you have more details on how much this project was initially?
Yes, and I'm looking at the application from 2021, Raj. The total capital cost $254,480,648 was the capital costs, and that anticipated them putting in $23 million, but getting bank financing of $231,486.48. So again, there was a decision to bypass the mortgage tax exemption at that point, but it was contemplated that they would be getting that. So actually the 200 million that they're getting now is pretty similar to what they anticipated from the original project.
And what benefits did we give them? We gave them sales tax?
Sales tax, and yes, and they've also getting a pilot agreement.
Because there's a little twist to it, would you like to go into executive session and have a conversation with the attorney about that but-for, the legal element of the but-for?
Yes,
Or
I'd like to entertain that.
Would you give us just a minute to go into executive, I guess? We're going.
Just to be clear, the executive session purposes for advice from legal counsel.
Yes,
Right.
okay, right. So if we could do that, executive session.
Yeah.
Okay, You just truck in.
Yeah, you
I'm gonna come with it, we go, what? Thank you, guys. We were discussing with the council in executive session, obviously executive session, so I can't expand on it. The short answer is that we're going to table the decision on this.
We're out of executive session.
We are out of executive
Somebody should
session.
make a
We're
motion to
done.
come out of executive session.
We're going to table that decision because the board hasn't felt they've heard a real, a but-for element to it yet that made them comfortable. And I think I believe that's kind of where they come down.
So it'll
come
stay
back.
tabled, Brian, until we hear back from you as far as there is a but for. But we've taken advice from our attorney.
Well, maybe I didn't make a good enough presentation here, but this is a matter of, and we've done a mortgage tax exemption after things have been constructed. I think 1547, we did that for, didn't we? They did a big refinance and a buyout, but in any event, this is not 1547, so maybe I'm wrong to try to make that comparison, but this is a matter of this project is going to slow down considerably unless this financing is approved. It gives them the impetus to move forward on this and move forward quickly to get customers in there to sell the space, which is what's needed to make this project viable. So I'm not sure what else I could say beyond that.
Is there any?
I don't know what to say, Brian. If there's nothing else you could say, I mean, if you'd like, we can take the vote now. We're giving you an opportunity to answer the but-for question. But if you feel there is no answer, we'll take the vote now.
Well, the fact is that the financing that will be obtained is going into the project. Part of it was significant increases in the cost of construction in the year following the application. I know a lot of applicants have come back to this board and said, well, wait a minute, I need more money now because of the increase in cost of construction. Well, that would fit into this category as well, too. It just makes for a sound viability for this project.
So how much is the benefit of if you get the mortgage exemption?
$2 million.
On a $200 million project?
Yes.
Okay.
$200 million mortgage.
Yes.
Right. How much is the total project?
About 265 million,
Okay.
and out of that, about 20% of that's been paid so far, and then the rest is still under construction.
Okay.
And you do believe that on a $265 million project, $2 million is going to slow you down?
Yeah, it's important to have that benefit. It will slow us down. We are, costs have gone up, our revenue is pushed out a little bit, and, it's a significant benefit to get a $2 million reduction.
You're saying why? Because it took you a year to get the approval?
Approvals took a year, and it's also just in general, costs have gone up. Also, financing, originally we were going to do this as more of like a revolving line of credit financing, but interest rates have gone up, and so that's why we had to go this route, because we finance how we originally intended to finance would be much higher to get a loan on the property. So we have to go this route to do the mortgage financing.
And you truly believe that on a $200 million financing, that $2 million is going to really slow you guys down?
Yeah,
Or are you just looking for a benefit, the fact to offset your interest rate because the interest rate is higher today than it was previously?
well, the offset is really, we were doing the mortgage financing instead of the line of credit, so that's really, that, we get similar interest rates we would have got if we would have done it originally. But this helps us do the finish, this will all go into the property. We have to, this money is important for us to go forward and finance the remaining construction of this property and get the customer in.
And you have another project coming after this.
Yes, that's, I mean, we've sold, this customer's taken 80%, the market is hot. We expect that we will proceed, and we're already in the planning stages of phase 2. And so phase 2 would be a similar project, but even more, because we'd have to bring a substation in, so that would increase the cost by about 50 million, 60 million or so. And so success on this one would, make it easier for, board, everyone to approve, going forward with the second phase as well.
Any more questions? So would you rather us table it or vote now? I'll give you that option.
Well, if it gets voted down, Tim, do we still have an opportunity to come back?
I mean, what would be the purpose of you coming back? Brian, you know what we're up against, okay? It's the but for, and in future projects, we'd be more than happy to entertain an application. But here we are, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Well,
And I can't speak for the board.
Yeah.
If you, what I meant is if you'd like, we'll have the vote.
well, we were sitting outside when you were in executive session, and the thought occurred to me that had they come in originally and asked for all 3 benefits with the mortgage tax exemption, I don't vote. I have a feeling I know what the vote would have been then. So it's like a change in the market, increased costs, bank financing. The lender wants to now have the security of having a mortgage lien, first mortgage lien on the property. I just see it as a necessary component. What are we all doing here? It's for economic development. I can't think of much better projects than this right now. Done a fair amount of data centers. You guys have approved a lot of benefits for data centers. I think everybody realizes this. But for Data Bank coming in and buying that and agreeing to invest a very significant amount of money, you would have had an empty building over there. And I just think that it's important that we continue in this similar vein of promoting economic development on good projects like this.
I'll move the question. Do we have a second?
Okay. All right. Have a vote. Mark Geller.
Right, sorry. We need to vote for.
Don't have to apologize.
Peg.
I agree with Mark.
Raj.
I would go to Mark too.
Okay, Tim.
No.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Move on. Time-wise, everybody okay? I know we're getting that,
Yeah.
you're hitting that,
I have to pick up
so
my
fast.
kids,
All right.
in a while. Not my kids.
JPMC data center. These are two, if I could these are two relatively easy applications. We're amending the inducement language and the authorizing language, and they're for more mechanical purposes. We've already approved and authorized the project. It's more structural elements to it because there was data center 1, they're building data center 2, Now we're gonna terminate the old project and combine, because we're all on one tax lot, so it's gonna be two facilities, but on one tax lot, so it's gonna be kind of one big project with sales tax that can encompass both. The pilot is going to be adopted under both, so there's these resolutions, and again, I don't mean to minimize it, but they're mechanical more than any real change in structure of the project, things like that. So JPMC's attorneys worked with Rudy and Lino to craft some language that everybody's comfortable with. Is that a fair representation of it, or?
Yes, very fair. In particular, two of the changes, the inducement resolution sets forth the but-for test, and they just wanted to use the same language that is in the lease agreement, setting forth the test, so they wanted us to modify that. But more importantly, in the authorizing resolution, I became aware that they're looking for a 20-year
Oh, right.
sales tax exemption, which is what they received on their prior project. And under the UTEP, the Uniform Tax Exemption Policy, it really says that the sales exemption should be for 3 years, or the time it takes to complete the project, or another time at the board's discretion. So in order to grant that, we believe that the board has to vote to allow the additional sales tax, and we put that into the additional time for the sales tax.
Which we've done for almost all the data centers.
Right, this is, we kind of crossed this bridge back with Bloomberg.
That was gonna be my question.
Yes.
Bloomberg was the one who brought it to our attention.
Just
This-
confirming
So this
that-
is not an anomaly.
Right, oh, absolutely not.
We're
Every
not
day is-
doing it just for them.
Right, every project has extended periods of time. So it's just the nature of how they buy, and that's how we've had this cluster grow so dramatically, which if you go to our annual report that Heidi did, you can see that it's paying dividends.
Even when Brian said,
That has nothing, that's.
no, I know that, when he said, well, if they had done it initially, he alluded to the fact we probably would have approved it, and we probably.
Maybe we
So then
would.
they should have.
Probably would.
You know, I mean,
He could have gone back and come up with something.
But let me tell you one.
That's why I did. Good.
He.
Should I step
Well,
out?
No, we shouldn't.
We shouldn't be talking about.
no, but I'm
let's-
just saying, you know, this is not different.
No, we've done this in the past.
This is
as
not
far as
setting
each
a
one of you.
precedent.
This is absolutely not a
That's my
precedent. This
question.
is just mechanical changes to the structure of the project. That's all.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
We're not giving a penny more that we already didn't approve.
No, I just,
Okay.
right, but it's not being done just for them, we've
No.
done it.
Oh, gotcha.
That was
We're
just
just
my
shifting
question.
it from one to the other.
Right,
That's all we're
that's all.
basically.
Okay,
So I guess if there's no questions, I'm going to ask for 2 votes, in fact. So I can ask, we're going to amend the inducement. I'll ask for a vote on that. I'm going to ask for amendment to the authorizing, and I'll ask for a vote on that. Okay. Does anybody have any more questions? I don't want to rush anybody, but I'm conscious
No.
of people's time.
I'll make a motion to pass the amended inducement.
Okay, do I have a second? Zugby, Mark Eller, Peg Zugby,
yes.
Rajamar,
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Okay, does somebody want to do the amended authorizing resolution? Make one. Peg Zugby, do I have a second? Rajamar, Mark Eller, Peg Zugby,
Yes.
Rajamar, Tim Riley.
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Next item on the agenda, labor policy compliance. We worked, we had conversations with Low Key Brill, Dan, consulted with Tim on this. All we've done, this is a continuation of the discussion we had where we amended our labor policy for proposing. So it puts some process, so somebody consistently not be following our policy. It puts a procedure in place so that it has teeth. We always had the ability to terminate, but how we got there was kind of fuzzy. This just allows for notice periods, correction periods. I can get into the details of it, but the key thing I want to ask of the board is if you're all comfortable with this. All we're doing is setting a procedural thing that, allows our attorneys to be comfortable should we have to, go to a recapture because somebody just thumbs their nose at our process and the board says, you know what, enough's enough. Any thoughts or questions about that? We're not changing the obligations of 80% and local labor and all that. This is just the
Gives you the
procedure,
ability
should
to
someone
do
not be in
something.
compliance.
Right.
That's all.
And then what's the point?
And it's still very forgiving, by the way.
Yes,
It's not,
and at the end, they can come to the board. Not so
the
much.
board always has the right
Right.
to overrule its own procedure should you have the discretion to want to do that. If
You want a motion?
if there's someone wants to make a motion, then what we'll do is we'll take a verbal motion, then next month I'll have a written resolution that we'll have signed.
Okay.
Is that the way we can do it?
You could do it that way.
Or do we not have to have a?
You could, I pretty it up after the meeting with, board member blank moved this new policy.
Oh, okay.
and-
As amended?
Yeah, we can do
Okay,
as-
even better.
Yeah, or essentially, the blue, the red line is, the changes there, which you guys have seen before. There is one change since the last month, I just wanted to. If after the second, if after the first go-round, they say, we're still working on the reason why we can't comply, we put in there some increased inspections and spot checks by the agency, at the agency's discretion and at the expense of the company. And what that would do is try and disincentivize any company from playing with the calendar in the sense that, they're not gonna be till next month, we can get so much done between now and then. You could have inspections every day if you wanted, and it's at their cost. So that kind of, that was a concern Loki Grill had, that you meet monthly, what happens if they're critical projects they wanna get done by that time.
So if someone's comfortable with that, someone want to make a motion to adopt the amended resolution, Peg, do I have a second?
Raj?
Raj? Okay, Mark Geller, Peg Zugby,
Yes.
Raj Amar,
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Great. Again, now I'm really moving fast. Low-key Brill,
Oh, go ahead.
but we're not there yet. Low-key Brill labor report, just so you know, you can take a look, everybody's got a copy, but everybody's over the 80%, everybody's compliant, which is kind of ironic. We're just passed, but that's a good thing. Agency logos, about, if you recall, 6 months ago, it may have been right before you started, we were looking to update our logos. And very quickly, we reached out to BOCES graphic design class and asked them to provide us with, logos. And it kind of languished a little bit, but then we recently talked to one of the assistant superintendents of business, or Kim Bell, who's one.
Yeah.
And she went back and
She
told
said,
the class we want logos new logos to consider for the IDA and REAC. We got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
I think every kid in the class submitted multiple logos and all that stuff. So we're kind of sifting through them. And I won't bore you with all this, but we'll come up with a couple finalists. We'll show everybody, make sure everybody's good with it. And then I think what we'll do is we'll give the kids, I realize it's a public meeting, we'll give the winner some monetary reward, which is the norm, a budget amount. And we're also going to give everybody who submitted, something, a little something as well, if everybody's okay with that. And we'll do that. Moving on. I'm going to ask to go back quickly into executive session again to discuss, again, legal matters.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Tim Riley makes a motion, second.
Second.
Okay.
Always in a rush.
Okay, we're
No,
live.
the poor man, I know that you're conscious.
Or suddenly they go format.
Okay, all right, we're back in from executive session at 12:44.
Sorry. It's my backup system so that I know that we're not live.
All right, yeah, no old business. I am tabling the treasury report till next month when we do REAC and the IDA together, so that's easily done. The reading and approval of minutes, Mark, you don't need to stay for that. You gotta run.
Thank you.
Take care, all.
Okay, Mark, talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And Raj, you don't get to go anywhere because I bought stuff for lunch that you know you're gonna like, so.
Do I have something to sign before I leave?
I'll have-
This is the one that we got in the,
Yes.
mail today?
You can, no, there's nothing, I can have you sign it. You gotta write it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Tom's got the kid
Go
on
ahead.
the wall, so unless
Okay.
you wanna, unless I need a divorce, I'm not gonna leave
No,
on the
it's
wall with
just
the
for
three of them.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna do this real quick. Just call the session 11:30 a.m. All present, presented an annual report to the board members for the review by Heidi and Diver, who provided all the synopsis of data that what we've done over the past year. Let's see, green development, Representative Porth gave an overview. Representative Will Kennelly gave an overview of the project with senior housing development on North Main Street, New City. Following discussion, motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Dugby, all in favor. Hotel Nyack was tabled. 1547 Realty authorizing resolution. There was no public comment at the public hearing held. Following this discussion, there was a motion by Roger Morris, seconded by Peg Zuckerby, all in favor. Champlain Hudson Power Express amended authorizing resolution. SB provided an overview along with Rudy Zoda as far as some mechanical adjustments to the actual amending authorizing resolution. Following discussion, Peg Zuckerby recused herself due to a conflict of interest. Motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Mark Geller. Motion passed 2-0. Data Bank, Brian Quinn representing, Council Brian Quinn representing Data Bank, provided an overview of the request for a mortgage recording tax. Let's see, I have to read my notes. Steve Porth did ask Mr. Quinn to expand on the but-for element of why the mortgage recording tax is necessary. Following discussion, it was agreed the board chose to go into executive session to discuss the legal about this matter. Motion made by Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Zuckerby. Motion came out of that. The board explained to Mr. Quinn and the representative that they did not feel there was a but-for element to it, and said they would table the matter if they wanted to come back and think about the answer to that question. They said no. There was a motion made to consider the motion. Motion was 4-0 to decline the request. Board considered JPMMC amended an inducement resolution and authorizing resolutions reflecting mechanical changes regarding the structure of the project, but there is no additional incentives being requested. Motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Zuckerby, all in favor. On the authorizing resolution, motion by Peg Zuckerby, seconded by Roger Mark, all in favor. The board reviewed the labor policy, which essentially the recent changes were just putting a process in the event that there was non-compliance or was process reviewed. Following discussion, motion by Peg Zuckerby, seconded by Roger Mark, to approve the labor policy. All in favor. Board went back into executive session to discuss legal matters, and then at 12:44 came back out. Treasury report, March financials were tabled until both REAC and IDA financials can be considered at the May meeting. That's it. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. We have lunch.
You can turn it off, Mike.
Yeah.